Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to do. I'm here to joining me, as always, Xavier. Out doing drugs in an RV. Okay. Xavier's doing drugs in an RV because he just wants to be American trash as hard as he can. So he's out. Yeah. Well, I think he's smoking. His words, not mine. Join me as always on the ones and twos. Jay Nice, Juicy Johnny, J Dog, Johnny Woodard.
Somebody told me the other day one of the nickname that you were trying to remember that you forgot was something like Eclipse Master or something like that.
Master.
Yeah, I think
Eclipse
that's what
Master.
It was, yeah. We don't even really. I mean, he does it. We should just send him the check. You know, we can just
get out of here, bro. Get out of here. And then just do an AI where ask dumb question about.
Get ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Try not to fall asleep because you're too high and ask dumb questions.
ChatGXG.
That's what GXG. Johnny, thanks for coming to Comedy Chaos last night.
I thought you said that. Comedy Chaos was fantastic.
It was fire, dude.
We had a great time.
We'll get into
literally fire. It was about 90 degrees in there.
Everyone was complaining. Everybody was complaining, but it's still great. It was still great.
Well, most packed I've seen, and I said this last time we went, it was really packed, but this was even more packed.
Well, this is the first time since COVID that they've let the room be full. They've been going with these COVID numbers forever. Like, we can't have this all the way. Now they finally let it all go.
Lineup was amazing.
It was great.
I mean, Tom Segura walks out on stage first. Like, come on, dude.
Dude, we opened up with Tom Segura.
That's unbelievable.
That's how, Daddy, kick you right in your fucking face, tell you what is up.
He's so funny.
He's great. He's so good, dude. So Tom Segura and then just Tony Hinchcliffe. Like the lineup was just pure
Yeah, dude.
fun.
Hinchcliffe coming off that Brady roast, bro. That's huge, man. That was great.
Dressed like he masturbates to NASCAR. I fucking love him.
Dude, he had that giant ass belt buckle on.
Yeah.
He got a reception, bro.
When they announced him, I was like, damn. So the only other time I've ever seen that was when it was like, oh wow, was when Whitney Cummings blew up.
Oh, really?
The first time she blew up, I'm like, welcome, Whitney Cummings. This was at the Improv, and the place went nuts. I'm like,
yeah.
And I remember thinking, I'm like, whoa, Tony Hinchcliffe just got the biggest pop.
He was not humble about it either. He just walked, he stood up like this and like, yeah.
Oh, dude, there's nobody who enjoys it more than that guy.
It was so funny.
There's nobody who enjoys it more, and good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. We love him. We love him.
He destroyed some chick.
So thank you for
at the stage.
I'm sure she's just like, I came here for Bobby Lee, and I'm getting shit on by this fucking aggressive man. But that's it. So that was great,
Thanks,
guys. Real quick, I want to thank our good friends at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver for sponsoring this studio. Just go to SamTripoli.gold. Use the promo code TINFOIL. Okay. And join the Wolf Pack, man. I'm in the Wolf Pack. Johnny's in the Wolf Pack. Everyone's Wolf Pack, okay? It's a great way to get precious metals, okay, in these crazy times as this Babylonian money magic goes off the tracks, okay? Off the rails. Join and use the promo code. And that's how it goes.
Which, if you listen to what the Alex Jones clip we play in this episode, you're going to have even more impetus to sign up for this because shit's going down. Something's about to go down.
Shit's going down. Okay. So join that. We thank them for sponsoring the studio. And guys, we're very excited. If you want to see me live, go to samtripoli.com. Click the event, and I'm going to be in La Jolla at the end of the month, and then I'm going to be at the La Jolla Comedy Store.
Morris Plains.
And then I'm going to be at Costa Mesa. It isn't up yet. That's on the 30th. Then I'm going to be in Morris Plains at the middle June on the 21st. And then I'm going to be at Broadbook on the 22nd. So go check that out, SamTripoli.com. We got a great show for you today. Yeah. We have the legend himself. Ian Carroll on. He's one of the best that does it on the internet. What a blessing it is to get this guy on the show. And I'm going to be honest with you, he blows my expectations away, and he's just great, right, Johnny? He's
absolutely.
It was a great conversation with a very tall Nephilim man. Okay, so you guys are going to enjoy this conversation because it's what I call screaming in agreement. We're yelling at each other in agreement. That's what we did basically the whole show. So great show. Enjoy this episode with Ian Carroll. All right, let's get into it. I'm a little bit giddy right now. I'm a big fan of this guy. Love what he's doing on the internet. And yeah, I'm just excited. He's a researcher and guess what? Just a regular dude. Please welcome to first time on Tinfoil Hat, hopefully of many, Ian Carroll. How are you, brother?
Doing really good. It's good to be here. I've been a fan of your work for quite some time now, too. So Ian, I appreciate the chance to talk.
I appreciate that. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm sorry, dude. But I'm somewhat little giddy, so I'm very excited to have you on. I've been watching your research, and I must tell you something, Ian. I feel I got to make an apology to you because you came onto my timeline on Twitter and Instagram kind of out of nowhere. And I was like, who is this motherfucker?
Yeah.
And
who is this plant?
Dude, thank you.
Right.
Dude,
I would think the same thing, man.
So one of the listeners hit me up and she's like, asshole, he's been on TikTok forever and he's been crushing it. So I want to say, I'm sorry about that. And after she told me that, I could sit back and enjoy your work. So real quick, for those who may not be familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can find me at my website, cancelthisclothingcompany.com, and that has links out to all my other social media and such. And like you said just a second ago, I started on TikTok, and that was intentional because I planned out my entrance into social media a little bit. And I knew that TikTok would be the best and fastest space to grow, especially for someone with kind of my style and my level of knowledge, which is I'm not like an expert at anything. And I've learned along the way, along my journey quite a bit. But it's not like I'm coming in as some like PhD researcher or anything. I was just a dude who wanted to be able to articulate my thoughts and wanted to understand the world better. And I was invested in GameStop through that whole sequel. And eventually I just realized like, I feel like I have a lot of ideas and I know a lot of things, but when you don't do the research yourself, when you don't take the time to take notes, to actually learn things beyond just a video clip you watch on Instagram, you don't really internalize the knowledge. And so my whole platform is basically a way for me to have an ongoing project by which I learn what's really going on. And the best way to learn is to share and to teach and to create around what you're learning. And so it kind of just turned into a lot more than I expected. I was expecting a long, slow journey of learning and growing, and just all of a sudden it was 300,000 followers a month for the first 3 months or so on TikTok.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
It was completely out of control. So you're not wrong that I just came on the scene out of nowhere. And I think anyone especially in your line of thinking, would be silly not to ask if I was like some plant or some weird like operation. Because how does that happen? That was bizarre.
You're the best. I appreciate that. And it's there's so much into it because like, Johnny, have you seen any of his videos at all? I might have sent you one or two here.
Yeah, you sent me several, yes.
What is your process for making a video? Like, people like, just get to the conspiracy. I get it. But as a content creator,
totally.
I want to understand your process because the disseminating of material is so well done. Like, are you putting out multiple videos a week, or do you just wait? Like, do you pick one topic and then just do deep dives into it? And then just like, okay, now we're going to put it out. Now I got enough information and feel comfortable with talking about it. And then you put it out, or what is your process? If you don't mind telling us.
Oh, 100%. No, I'm an open book, man. Honestly, it depends a lot on the video. It depends a lot on I've started making more long form content, more deep dives and live streams, which obviously take a lot more research and a lot more time. But for the short form, it's pretty quick. And a lot of it is things that I've like got base knowledge in beforehand, but the process of putting together the notes and everything, it's often just kind of like a quick, direct research dive. And I make a point of sharing all my sources in my videos because I'm never trying to claim that like my understanding is the end all be all of understanding something. And it's often not. I often get things wrong, just like all of us.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, we did.
Hold on.
So
one
strange.
second. Hold on, Ian.
Oh, hey, Ian. Sorry. So we lost sound there.
We lost sound. Come on, man.
I'm hearing
Oh,
you
here
guys.
we go.
I'm seeing
Here we
myself.
go. Here we go. We're back. We're back.
Cool, we're back.
We're back. The
I'm
lizards
gonna
are
run a-
trying
I'm gonna run a
hard,
speed test on
bro.
my internet in the background here.
The lizards are
I
trying.
don't think it's you. It was a technical thing here on our end.
The
Cool,
lizards
word.
are trying hard, dude.
Solar Storm 2024 is still coming in a little bit.
Yeah. So your information's great. I appreciate that. I have a new show called Doom Scrolling, and I like to find the craziest videos and talk about them. But I'm always about giving them credit for making their videos. I like to help them like get the word out. So yeah, I respect that a lot, man. I totally respect that. And like, I was so impressed one day because I'm watching, like Owen Benjamin, and he's doing some pretty great numbers on Twitter, his Twitter lives. And I was like, oh, dude, that's amazing. And then I saw Ian Carroll doing a live and it said 90,000 people. And I'm like, what?
They've been out of control, dude.
Live, Johnny. That's live
That's wild.
listening.
Yeah, that's great. I mean,
And the
that's-
crazy
that's
part too is
through the
that's
roof.
like 90,000 people on a Friday night, like literally reading FBI documents about like Israeli involvement in 9/11. Like we're literally just
Amazing.
reading documents, and it's not like it's some super exciting like action-packed live stream. It's like hanging out and reading hundreds of pages of documents together, which is
though?
so cool.
That makes me hopeful because
Exactly.
the news has turned so hard away from that, giving you facts presented undramatically in a straightforward manner that people I think are hungry for. They're going to find
I
it where
totally
they can
agree,
get it.
dude. I 100% agree. And, that's kind of what Joe Rogan has taught us too. The JRE experience was like, oh, people really are thirsty for knowledge and what I call being a lighthouse in a sea of shit.
Yeah.
That's what they're
we
really
actually
looking
have
for.
attention spans, believe it or not.
Yeah, they do, but
they've
they
told
bu-
us we don't.
Yeah. Yeah, so much of it's crazy. So, Ian, one time I was like, "Oh, dude, this guy's getting dangerous." Okay, he started talking about the family in which we do not discuss on the show.
The P
yeah, we
family?
don't talk
Yeah.
about the P family here.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I tweeted you. I go, watch yourself, dude. They're really powerful. And I don't know if it coordinated or something, but I felt like right after that, I saw you talking about TikTok fucking with you and shit like that. We did a show on the P family. We don't discuss them here. We don't say their names. And the first time we had Mel K on, she came on and she talked about, it was specifically about them. And I'd say within a week of us dropping that episode, Google, Apple, Twitter, and Facebook all fucked with us. They either gave us dings and locked us out of our accounts. When you would go to Apple, they show you what episodes did well. It said for like 3 weeks straight, nobody listened.
Yep.
All the listens.
Funny how that works.
Right? So, and then
I treat censorship as my guiding light. It's like if I'm, especially because TikTok is really heavy on censorship, and I think a lot of it is sort of dictated through Oracle and sort of through the government channels that Oracle is connected into, because Oracle is now managing their data servers and such. And so I actually treat TikTok censorship and censorship in general as like, if I'm getting taken down about that topic, that's exactly where we need to go. And so thank God for X, because now at least we have a few different platforms, X and Rumble and such, that give us that outlet where we can go down those rabbit holes, even if it's a little less monetized or whatever it is.
I completely agree, dude. I think it's very interesting because, forever, like, there's all this like narrative, oh, TikTok, they're dangerous to us and all that stuff. But based on what you just said there, it's like the same people are controlling everything. And it's kind of crazy. But I do get into like, for me, like the label of anti-Semitism is like, so I'm on to something. I mean, I live with a Jew. I take care of a 90-year-old Jewish woman. Like I have zero problems with calling out fucking Zionism, and it's just like you just called, and it's like it just doesn't. It's not real, and it's losing its power. But you're totally right. When you get and it's so crazy to me because I was talking to someone last night about comedy and why comedy in Los Angeles isn't doing well. It's because the social contagion of cancel culture has it's become the shadow in the cave where it's not really existing anymore, but people are still afraid of it. So if you go up there and you do a joke about black people, gays, trans, Jews, or whatever the protected class is, people get quiet. They might think it's funny, but they don't want anyone seeing them thinking it's funny. So it's like I go, oh, so we're like, dude, if it
Everyone
makes you
socially
nervous,
controls each other.
Yeah.
It's this group think thing. And now that we've seen retroactive canceling based upon what you said, 6 years ago when whatever group wasn't a protected group, and now they become a protected group, it's like, so how are you supposed to know who you're not supposed to talk about in the future and who you're not supposed to laugh about in the future? It's like the death of free speech and of comedy. It's the death of everything.
but and what makes it worse is we're doing it to ourselves. That's
Bingo.
the worst part. And we're empowering people that normally would be in the fringe in this kind of color revolution where these people that nobody, they were outlaws back at the day, drag queens and trans, and they were just outlaws. They were on the fringe doing their fringe shit. And now we're like trying to make it so it's like this, outlaw shit for normies, and it's just not good and it's not powerful, and it's just a lost cause. So I really do appreciate everything you're doing. So I'm ready to let's get into some stuff. Do you find it weird that P. Diddy's still walking the streets of Miami? Do you find it weird after all that, or what are your thoughts?
A little bit. I think that there's a sort of centerline rational take that the raid that happened was clearly a part of a criminal investigation, whereas the lawsuit that we have is a civil lawsuit. So the standard of evidence is really different, and the process of prosecuting that is really different. So what it looks like has happened is the civil suit that Lil Rod brought sort of opened the door, and probably Cassie's lawsuit too, to get enough evidence to open a criminal investigation. And then those raids were probably on warrants for the criminal investigation. But what that means is that they needed to get evidence because they're not like, they have something like a 98% prosecution rate. Like they don't go in if they're not going to get it done. And so the way I see it is whoever is behind that is, at least the front story would be that they're building an airtight case before they grab him. I think the very logical backstory question is, what are they going to do with all those tapes?
Oh yeah, found? That is it. They're probably going to put the same place where the Jeffrey Epstein tapes are.
Also, which is
not get rid of them because that's some powerful blackmail stuff.
Very powerful.
So we want to keep
very
that.
powerful people.
He's got a dead man switch. I mean, he's the guy.
Yeah, but everybody says they have a dead man switch, and it never does anything.
Right, but he must. I mean, that's probably why he's still alive. They're trying to figure out how to work around it, and then once they do, off with his head.
There's so many, like Isaac Cappy said he had a dead man switch. This
Rip Isaac.
Yeah, Rip Isaac. And then I just did I forget what her name is, but I just did something on Rockfin about this woman that had started to discover that, within January 6th, there were some agitators, and they're from this accelerators group. And then when you get into the accelerators, you get into the organization of 9 angles, and then once you get deeper into that, it's Satanism. Then you get deeper into that. Look who's there! It's the FBI. Like at the deepest level of that stuff. And she said she had to kill, a dead man switch, and now no one's heard from her forever.
It's got to be a good one.
Well, yeah, maybe everyone thinks they got one, and no one's actually got one, but. The story of P. Diddy is super interesting, and because it just becomes like, what is real anymore? What is the real?
Not your culture. That's for fucking sure.
Thank you, dude. I feel
Right?
like I'm having the best time.
I mean,
ever.
there's a couple angles to P. Diddy's story. The one that I've tried to talk about a fair bit is the possible implications of maybe Mossad links, just based on like the obvious question that like there's a lot of Jewish management in the music industry, and I'm not saying that they're necessarily Mossad, but I'm saying that if you are a Jewish intelligence agency, then Jewish people are like the easiest in there is. It's like a lot easier to go to a Jewish person and be like, hey, we're kind of on the same team, right? Rather than like a Japanese person or an Italian person, right?
No, you're
like,
totally right.
right. So it's like that's just an obvious question, and the operation itself has all the hallmarks of like long-standing history of Mossad blackmail video operations, just like Epstein. It's like Diddy doesn't know how to wire a fucking mansion up with hidden cameras on his own.
You're
That's
totally
not
right,
a Diddy
dude.
operation.
You're
But then
totally
there's
right.
the other question that you're kind of getting at, which is like, what is real? How much of culture is actually created in order? Because one thing that's important to consider when you talk about the blackmail culture in the power structures of our world today, that Jeffrey Epstein, like Whitney Webb breaks it down really well in her book, is just that if you're running a long-term, like multi-decades long blackmail operation, it behooves you to create culture that is degenerate. Because the more degenerate youth culture is, the more degenerate tendencies all the people growing up in that place have, and those become blackmail angles 10 years down the line.
I totally agree with that. And when you get into like, just because someone's Jewish doesn't mean they're necessarily mob. But what I will say, and I'm very, very, very crystal clear in my belief, is not all Jews are Zionists and not all Zionists are Jews. It's just a fact. But when we talk about China, they always say that every Chinese is a spy. But what we
Fits
find
their narrative real good there.
right? But when we find with Israel is like even somebody who I know so many what now is termed ginos, Jews in name only, that have a lot of just support and love and stand by Israel. So again, not all Jews are in on it. We see a lot of the Orthodox Jews not into Israel. You see a lot of them stepping forward, but I do think like Bill Maher, if it came out that Bill Maher, who's an atheist, suddenly was like Mossad, would you be surprised?
No.
Not one bit.
Not one
and
bit.
I mean, that's a very carefully constructed narrative that Israel's been working on for a very long time. It's like, we are the bastion of hope for the Jewish people. Like, this is openly their narrative. And if we die, we like the Jewish religion dies with us. Like they purposely curate this narrative that we stand like for all Jews, and all Jews should support us because obviously we are the only thing standing between Jewish people and another Holocaust. Is like more or less the version of the narrative that gets repackaged over and over and over. And so if you're raised in a Jewish household, those sorts of beliefs are kind of pre-programmed into just
And then
your cultural
banged
identity.
into you the whole time.
Yeah. And it's, it's understandable if you're growing up in a religious ideology that has a history of persecution that's reinforced through the stories you're told and is reinforced through sort of like the media narrative that you're given. Like, it's understandable that you would feel persecuted, and then that would reinforce this sort of victim protective identity. Like, it's a very wise tactic on Israel's part, and it's not accidental. They're very smart with their mind games, so to speak. And that's a very important one for people to unpack.
Hey guys, real quick, I want to talk to you about our good friends at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. Listen, we're living in a time of fake news, fake politics, and fake wars with real consequences. And it all starts with our fake fiat currency. You know this is true. Also known as a US dollar, okay? If you want to guard your savings against runaway inflation and geopolitical turmoil, then I recommend my good friends at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Exchange. No transaction too big, no transaction too small. Start or roll over an existing IRA or 401k and check out their monthly subscription service called Wolfpack, which I and Johnny are a part of, okay? It starts as low as $50,000 a month to have precious metals delivered directly to you. Go to SamTripoli.gold and click on the Join Wolfpack with the promo code tinfoil to get a free 1964 silver Kennedy $50. You can also call or text them at 888-770-1776. And remember, in a world of bulls and bears, be the wolf. Ow! Werewolf. Go for it. Let's do it. Thank you, Wise Wolf, Gold and Silver. And you know, so you get, you know, it's like I've even heard Rogan, who I love, talk about how anti-Semitism is on the rise, and I would go, well, that's a very tricky game to play, because what's being done is conflating of criticism of Netanyahu, the Likud party. And by the way, I keep asking Google, how do you say this? And it keeps saying Likud. I'm like,
Likud? I thought it was like Likud.
No, I love it. Said, is it Likud? Because I keep asking Google.
I think Likud is funnier.
Yeah, it's a lot funnier.
Okay, so Google's saying Likud, but Likud, okay? So we got the Likud party, and then the IDF. And if you have a problem with those, what they're doing right now, the conflating is that's anti-Semitic. And again, that is a giant sorcery trick done to convince Jews that any criticism is absolute criticism. And there's also this talk right now that one part of October 7th is to get all the Jews to feel like everyone's against them, which gets them into even more concentrated group, and more of them moving to Israel, which is more part of this biblical shit that's going on. So it's beyond interesting. And, you know, everyone's giving, you know, Bill Burr props right now because of his interview with Bill Maher. But Bill Maher is like, dude, you're too smart to believe that the students are protesting for Hamas.
Yeah. I mean, the terrorism narrative is so carefully crafted too. I mean, like, depending on where everyone in the audience falls on the tinfoil spectrum, like 9/11 created the terrorist narrative in the American public's mind. Like it was there vaguely, but the whole propaganda piece around 9/11 and in the 3 to 10 years after 9/11 was conditioning all Americans to think that Arab people and Muslim people are all terrorists. And there's one country that benefits from that narrative, and it's not America.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you shared this guy's, I think his name is James Lee or James Yee.
James Lee is amazing. He's so good.
He's kind of come out of nowhere, and he's really good at research. Johnny, if I had to ask you, what was the first official terrorist event? What would you think it was? If you had to guess.
What do you mean, in history?
What was the first thing that was labeled a terrorist attack?
You mean our government?
By any government.
Oh, God. I mean, it's probably as old as time, isn't it?
It was Israel's attack on the British embassy. Is officially the first terrorist attack.
But no one wants to talk about all those Jewish terror groups that were responsible for founding Israel. They really don't like that part of the history.
Michael Chertoff, right? Is that how you pronounce his name, Johnny? The guy Chertoff. If you study him and his lineage, his father had a doctrine in Talmud studies. His mother was a part of an operation called a Magic Carpet Ride. And Magic Carpet Ride she's literally part of a group that helped to form Israel by secretly flying Jews out of places into Israel on airlines. And this is the guy who sent all the dancing Israelis back to Israel after the whole thing.
I mean, look what they do in the open with the settlements. You know, it's just instigating openly. Everywhere.
And then they repackage the wording, they repackage the branding and the narrative. They're really good at quickly attacking the narrative right away when something happens, so that then, you know, a month down the line, they can refer to the repackaged narrative like, you know, babies in ovens or whatever it is, even if it was debunked or not true. So that way they have this rolling, like, conveyor belt of propaganda in boxes that they carefully constructed themselves.
So at the highest levels, we see these Mossad agents, whether they are Mossad or not. I think they play a role when you get into Kennedy in a couple seconds. But back to P. Diddy, you know, I always go, I guarantee you when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, he did something fucked up really early on that they saw him do it and they're like, okay, this guy's got the two things that we love. He's a psychopath and he's a sexual predator, and we can manipulate that stuff. And I openly admit I battle sex addiction along with drug and alcohol. And I haven't watched porn in like 21 days, so I'm battling the battle.
Man. Nice work.
Thank you. I'm trying,
It's
bro.
real, dude. It's fucking real. They pump that shit into our culture all over the place.
All the time, dude. It's everywhere at all moments, and you don't realize the vibrational level that it's on. And so I guarantee Jeffrey Epstein, they found something and they're like, okay, they knew about him through whispers, and then he did something fucked up, and instead of going to jail for it, they cleaned it up, pulled him aside, told him, listen, you could do this, you could do that. You go with us, we're gonna take care of you, and then it just that's how it grew, and I think that's what happened.
I would assume that was at his time teaching. He was teaching at a university where he had no business being like a professor.
But I think it's even before
I forget what
that.
it was, right?
I think
it might
it's
have been
even before
that,
that, because how does he get that job?
That's the good question, right? And that job, he was like openly known for being really weird with students at that job, and then he went from that job into finance and just started climbing the rungs of Jewish person promoting him to Jewish person promoting him to Jewish person promoting him until he wound up being Les Wexner's private money man.
Despite everybody who encountered him along the way being like, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah.
100%.
I saw a really interesting interview by a survivor of a satanic cult upbringing into the sex world. And I mean, it's obviously just one guy's testimony, so it is what it is. But he alleges that he was groomed into a global satanic network of sexual, of the whole thing, like sex slavery. And he was groomed to be a child cage fighter, and then was groomed to be a breeder that would be taken to these breeding compounds in Mexico. It's like this. It's a crazy interview, and it's completely heartbreaking and mind-blowing. But he directly alleges that he met Jeffrey Epstein at least a couple times, went to the islands, and he was on the track to be being groomed to be an operator of some of these operations like that, and he rejected it around that time. And his take on Jeffrey Epstein was really lucid, and he said that what was most apparent to him about Jeffrey Epstein right away was that Jeffrey Epstein was extremely adept at code switching on like a button, so he could be in one type of person and frame with this person and turn and be a whole different human with this person immediately. So it could go from like abusing the help or whatever sexual victim there is here, go through a door, and then suddenly you're talking to a politician as though you are a perfect human being. And it makes a lot of sense.
I know people in comedy like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the critical skill of acting, really, right? Is teaching yourself to believe immediately in whatever fiction, whatever person you need to be at the moment.
I totally see that. And it's just crazy. So I have two friends of mine that do stand up in the Ontario, California area. And they say just outside of their area where they live is a giant Scientology compound. Allegedly. We got to say that. Allegedly. And he says things going on there are fucking nuts. And he said you've driven by there and you see people trying to crawl out of the cages, like because I think they take people there. And I mean, how many people in 2019 that have association with Hillary Clinton that got busted for child sex trafficking? And if you're trying to do the math, I'll do it for you. Five different people.
It's a lot more than zero.
Yeah, it's a lot more than zero. And you get John of God, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's just getting these women pregnant, and then as soon as they're too old, he offs them.
Yeah, it's dark as fuck.
It's dark.
It's super
as
dark.
Fuck.
That's a rabbit hole that I sort of intentionally had not gone down for the longest time, because I was trying to just like I knew that it would inevitably turn my whole content in a direction that is different than what it had been. And also I just didn't really want to face it all. But eventually I think it was probably Liz Crokin and Dave Smith. I'm getting his name wrong.
Yeah.
Into the light, that whole crowd, the Pizzagate exposure, that finally cracked me on it. And once I saw it, I was like, man, I can't unsee this.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who think Pizzagate is a psyop, but I think the psyop is that they got in front of it with a name Pizzagate, so you thought it was stupid. Right?
It's the exact same playbook again, is create a reframing so that now every time that you have anything related to pedophilia, to politicians, it's like you can always frame it as like this person with the debunked Pizzagate conspiracy theory. And they even debunked it by getting ahead of it by probably sending an agent provocateur in with a weapon that was probably not actually that was probably not actually what it appeared to be. And he gave them a really perfect little quote that was like, I was so sure it was here, and it just none of it was true. It's like, really, bro?
Oh,
like,
dude,
that's
do you
really
know about that
what you
story?
said?
You're all on Sam's
It's
greatest
wild.
hits right here.
Did you read
wild.
any of that story? That kid had gotten in an accident and either killed somebody or someone got incredibly maimed in that accident a week before that. And you
Funny
study
how
that
that
guy, his dad was a famous child film, like he would do like films with children. So like, if you want your kid to be an actor, I'll film. But that's not
I didn't
all.
know that part of the story.
Oh, wait till you hear it. Gets even crazier. His father worked on something called Habitat for Haitian Orphans, and do you know who funded it? Do you know
Hillary Clinton?
the Clinton Global Initiative? And that's
Yes,
when I knew it was
sir.
real. That's when I knew it was real. And I called an old buddy of mine and I go, bro, it's all real. And guess what?
Yeah.
Guess what happened in that event that now we know is a sure sign that something's up, but we didn't know then. All the traffic cameras and security cameras went out. There was no traffic cameras to record the whole thing.
How many times are we meant to believe that?
We
know
don't
what I mean?
Funny how that
anymore.
works.
But at that point, no one really, everyone's like, wow, that's crazy at that point. And then the Jeffrey Epstein thing comes out and everyone's like, damn, dude.
Nope.
So now you
Because
hear
not only is Pizzagate real, the fact of the matter is that it's actually a tiny, tiny fraction of what's real. Is that is a piece of an enormous network. And that's what's like, that's the dark part, is that what they're trying to cover up is not that one thing was real. It's that if people realize that that's real and the reporting starts to break that open, it leads everywhere. Like,
dude, you're totally
everywhere.
right. And I think that's the whole thing about this firewall with Zionism and like why they cannot let that firewall on Jews go away. Because the minute you make it okay to criticize Jews, you open up to who's really running everything. And I think it's like way beyond Abrahamic religions. I don't care what Abrahamic religion you want to believe in. At the highest levels, if you study Epstein, just the Israeli Star of David does not appear anywhere in the Bible. There's no Star of David anywhere in the Bible. It's a star of like Ramdam or some crazy shit like that. That at the highest levels. Dude, I get shit on all the time because you're like, oh, you don't want to say it's Jews. Because I think it's way, way above these
More
Abrahamic
complicated.
religions. Yeah. Way above.
And
it.
that's such a complicated rabbit hole because you have to go back in history and suddenly the sources are so much more complicated to understand, complicated to corroborate. It's complicated to convey in a way that doesn't sound like you literally have just smoked a whole fucking bowl of tinfoil. So it's like it's easy to dismiss it all, but like it is there. It's one that I have kind of intentionally not taken the time to fully dive in because I know how deep that's going to go.
Well,
but man, it's interesting.
It goes back to your whole thing. What is reality? What is how much of our culture is reality? And, to wrap up on the P. Diddy shit is that no culture is real, in my humble opinion. Culture, it starts off as this do I think they had rappers out there singing about the crime in the hood? 100%. But it becomes the CIA who runs the airwaves, pushing out all the old hip hop that was positive and only playing Ice Cube and even though we all love DMX because I think he was different than the rest. If I go, who do you think are the real ones? I go DMX and Biggie. Those are the two that I think were the real ones. And the rest of them, not saying they're all homo thugs, but saying that they're all somehow blackmailed and controlled, and that's why they get pushed forward. Yeah. But none of that's real, dude. I've had Professor Griff from Public Enemy on, and I asked him straight up, "Is the N word a psyop?" And he goes, "Yeah, it is. It totally is. It's a get because words are magic, man." And
Interesting.
they get right.
I mean, it tracks. NWA watched that whole progression in the rap industry too. They were there.
You go look at all entertainment before NWA. Where do you see the N word in most of your entertainment? It's just not there. I'm not saying they didn't call each other that. But I mean,
it's at Klan rallies and stuff. Like it was,
right?
It was on the other side of the spectrum
me.
before then.
And like, what a great way they just do, just word magic. You just call yourself what other people. Now, full disclosure, I love being called it myself. Go on.
Imagine if it was piece of shit. Like that was just the phrase for black people that they call. Like, hey, piece of shit, come here. And then eventually,
this shit right here, dog.
All the rappers just started calling themselves pieces of shit in songs. You know, hey, piece of shit, come over here. Look at this piece of shit walking down the street.
That's the whole.
Well, they managed to get him to start calling themselves hoes and shit like that.
Yeah,
so it's
you're
like,
right.
I mean, piece of shit might be on the menu before long.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. But all that to me, people mistake their culture. They mistake thinking that their culture is their heritage, and it's not.
Yep.
At all.
Exactly.
And
so well said.
And culture is actually the killer of heritage. It kills it.
Yep.
It destroys all of it. And we just start getting into that. But as we get into the spiritual and into the realms and all that stuff, you know, there's a bunch of people out there who, you know, they've been talking about this forever. Bill Cooper, all these guys are talking about, you know, Mars. And so we have this discussion about when you go far enough back in the history and you really get into like the Freemasonry and the symbols and all that stuff, is this thing called the black sun. What is the black sun? And you saw the Nazis, the logos with all that. And someone brought up to me that there used to be the belief there was two suns. There was the sun we know now, and they considered Mars, not Mars. They considered Saturn to be the other sun. That was the black sun. And that's why the cube at the top is the black cube. And then you get into one of the craziest things out there is this company, which everyone knows about, Blackrock. Blackrock sounds a lot like Black Cube to me. And then Blackrock is a offshoot of Blackstone.
Yeah. Both of which are still some of the most evil and massive companies to this date.
So here's a crazier thing, and you told me this, dude, on one of your videos, is when you look at who owns a big chunk of Blackrock, it goes to Bank of America. Nobody ever talks about Bank of America. Everybody, I think this is your point. You want to get into it. That's how I
got to the P family, man.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
I did not see that one coming at all.
So people don't talk about this, but you know, the biggest shareholders of BlackRock is Bank of America. You all look at Chase. Chase is the rattler over here. Hey, look over here. When in reality, it's Bank of America, which owns the biggest chunk of the biggest company in the world, right? And dude, you trace it back, it goes back to old Italian families. And that's where we get into the black nobility, which nobody ever taught. That's how hidden it is. There's no even hip hop group called Black Nobility.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I would almost argue that it's not necessarily. There's the banks actually. This is a good point you're bringing up. Is that the banks sort of seem to represent some of the various like mega powerful families and groups that have come down to this day from the beyond, so to speak, as in Bank of America kind of goes back through the P family and back to some of these other like ancient lineages from Europe. But then I look at Citibank, and Citi has all the markings of being a full-on CIA operation all over it. It's like their whole board of directors is insiders. They have a full-on like card-carrying CIA agent on their board of directors. And there's just a lot there that's like interesting. That's a very different flavor than Bank of America is. And then you turn to JP Morgan Chase, and JP Morgan Chase is clearly like they were the bank for Epstein, and they get caught with like whole boxes of cocaine on their boat and all these. And so it's like they all seem to be tied to these massive power groups that might be opposing and collaborative forces in our world today that all need their own bank. Because obviously it's not like there's only one family that controls the world. There's a few that have been around and that have been, shifting around one another for a long time. And they all need a bank.
Yeah, and it's a great way to control money, and it's a great way for you to give them your money.
Especially BlackRock. BlackRock is like the ultimate scheme to get us to give them our money.
100%. Give us your retirement in which we're going to invest in policies that hurt your grandchildren.
Yep. I mean, now it's even give us your YOLOs. You want Bitcoin? Don't worry. We've got a fund for that. Just put your YOLO money in with us and we'll YOLO it for you. It'll be fine.
Guys, real quick, I want to tell you about our good friends at Off the Grid Dream Life and their big event that is coming up. It's happening soon. So listen, have you ever had a vision of living in an off-the-grid Garden of Eden style sovereign community? Yeah, I think we all have here, right? Well, where you no longer depend upon the government and the matrix system to survive? Yeah, check that box. If so, now is the time to step into that dream life. The banks are technically insolvent. We know that. Swift has announced that they will be moving to CBDC platform in the next 12 to 24 months. Total household debt has reached $17 trillion. I don't think people even know what that number is, trillion, which is the highest on record. Cyber attacks are stepping up all over the world, just like that D-bag Klaus Schwab predicted. And we're on the verge of World War III and Civil War at the same time. Double bangers, okay? Do you have a plan? Well, guess what? If you'd like to live in a sovereign community with its own food, water, shelter, and energy so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff, register now for the Off the Grid Dream Life event happening Saturday, May 25th at noon Central, online via Zoom from your own house, okay? Register now. The cost of your admission has already been covered for you. Just go. Dude, what? What are we talking about? Already covered for you.
Right.
Just it's crazy, dude. Just go to WWF. You don't even have to put that in. Just go to offgriddreamlife.com. That's offgriddreamlife.com to register now. When you attend, tell them Sam sent you. Tell them Sam sent you, okay? That's how we do. Again, the link to register for free is offgriddreamlife.com. Go secure a spot now to secure a sovereign future for you and your family. Thank you, offgriddreamlife.com, for sponsoring the show. Johnny, we've had people on it. We've had Brian Callen. We've had Howie Dewey on our other show, and they just don't think BlackRock is actually doing anything. You're right. They're like,
yeah.
I think it's because they view them more as
take.
like index funds, right? That are like tracking the markets. That's their idea. That's why they own everything, because they have to, because they're tracking that whole market.
Right, but when you have that much money, he's even said, Fink has even said it. We are going to force behaviors.
Well, I think the disconnect is they think that you're suggesting that because they own everything, that's the actual evil part of it. But it's not that part that you're saying is evil. It's that they are activists, that they are trying to influence the companies that they own. And I think that's where you disagree.
Sorry, that debunk, what it is, it relies on treating money as the object here.
Right,
And
exactly.
it's like a classic debunk by all the fintech, the finance people is like, oh, they don't literally own it because it's our money. They representatively. But like, no, bro, it's the voting rights that all those shares have. Shares are all about votes. And BlackRock controls all the votes for all those shares. And that's how they are those activists. That's like one of the most core pieces of like, especially my early content was all about like getting over the hump of people trying to debunk that BlackRock is powerful, because they are clearly powerful. And it's because of those voting rights.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like it takes a naivety to think we're all going to play by the rules. That's what there's rules. And you're like, well, dude, who's enforcing the rules? And are they enforcing it for everybody? And you going back to this pedophilia, you go back to that and you see that like only low-level pedophiles get arrested. So it acts like it's doing something. Or, and I don't know if you've gone down this, but like, when P. Diddy's not making any money and you owe him a lot of money, it's a great way to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Right? You look at Harvey Weinstein, you look at P. Diddy, you look at all these guys that aren't making any money anymore, but they have contracts for all this money. Great way to get rid of that contract is to throw that motherfucker in jail.
I mean, another way to look at it too is if he Diddy was getting pretty sloppy, and the whole inner circle of the rap industry knew what was going on, and he was clearly drunk on that power and being if I was his coworker running a parallel operation and I was looking at P. Diddy, I'd be like, bro, shut the fuck up. You're going to get us all caught. And so I wouldn't be surprised if people within the organization were like, this guy needs to go because he's getting real sloppy.
Well, that gets into the whole Vegas shooter, dude. That guy was supposed to be a ghost, and now he's suing these casinos for fake injuries they had. You see him like literally doing like Three Stooges, like pratfalls, like walking down the street, and he's like, whoa, and he just falls out of nowhere, and then he starts suing them. Well, you're meant to be a ghost, bro. You're not meant to be in the public eye. So they're like, we got to get rid of this fucking guy and take him the fuck out. But going back to the family in which we do not speak of, there's a real discussion that the CFR isn't an actual independent organization. It is actually a trust for the P family's properties and that they control.
I would not be surprised by that at all. The CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, if anyone's not with it, right? What am I looking for here? I am so curious for the true story of what's going on behind the scenes there, for who's really controlling that, for what interest do they really represent? Because it's like, I mean, it's not a publicly traded companies. You can at least research all their public filings, all their public disclosures, but like lobbying groups and these think tanks and such are so opaque on purpose. And there's so many people coming and going and so much complexity to try and unpack what's really going on that, yeah, have you seen any actual like concrete linkages between the P family and them?
Well, we've had a couple. Well, the only thing that gets me going, like, what is this real stuff? Stuff I saw in your video where you went back and found like connections to stuff. Mel K, all of her information. And then the fact that we just got pounded on like something I've never seen. And here's the thing. We had her back on and we just mentioned their name one time and they pounded us again, dude. And I was just like, damn, that's why we will never say their name on the show again. Please don't wait, dude. We're playing ball. But
because now the internet is run by AI. And so it actually is ironic how not saying a word kind of actually does work a lot of times, because it's not like they're actually watching the video. It's just an AI scanning for words. And when it finds a word, it brings that video to the attention of someone, or it scrubs it off of things or whatever it needs to do.
And when you get into kind of what we talked earlier about the social contagion, like, I'm just really more and more believing we're in a panoptic Patankin village, dude. Is that the
Panopticon?
Panopticon. What's it? Panopticon
or a Potemkin village?
No, I think it's a Panopticon.
Well, you're talking about the Panopticon prison, which is the
no.
prison
I'm
where...
putting it both together.
Okay,
I'm shoving them both
you're
together.
Your metaphors there.
That the internet is just not real, and it's not as big as we think, and they want us to think they're always watching.
Oh, interesting. I got you.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's a strong argument to be made for like the psyop that is the CIA's and all of these guys' competence, because there's a lot of evidence that they're actually pretty fucking incompetent.
Yes.
Throughout most of their history, like they kind of suck at their job, and their job is really complicated, and they've been pretty underfunded for a lot of that time. And I know that there's definitely some like splinter groups, some like dark corners of those agencies that are highly competent and are doing their own things. But there's also, I think that a lot of people, so for example, the idea that like someone like me would be literally like a CIA agent is, I mean, I wouldn't put it out of the question that there are highly skilled CIA agents.
I would love for you to do a show on yourself.
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting. When you look at people that are like live streaming and having like open conversations, it's like the amount of skill that it would take for someone to do that as a controlled op with a bunch of lies that are like Like that's a really talented human if they can do that.
Yeah, it's like a
and
sleeper
most
cell.
of the CIA is fucking trash.
The closest you have to that is the manosphere right now, where like
Yeah.
Fit and Fresh is like, yeah, we used to be intelligence. That's in like these kind of really weird.
Did they say that?
Yo, the thin one. I don't know which one.
Really?
He came out and said he was in the NSA. And what happens is, again, when you get into like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, I think they take all the grandkids and they're just like, which one's driven and which one's a little bit of psychopath, smart enough, and we push him out. And that he becomes this LARP, this live action guy. So I'm sure they do that in the intelligence agencies.
Well, I mean, we know the the Chinese do it by, they send people over here and they've been busted and growing up. They send them over here to grow up and go to college and think about how many they must have to send over here for just one to become a doctorate and end up in a university and still secret.
I'm 99% sure that I don't know that they are actual spies, but the people I think were Chinese spies at the Comedy Store. And I think there's one person, I've said it before, I don't say their name on here, but that was an FBI informant based on their career. I go, it doesn't make any sense. Based on who I know and where they are, doesn't make any sense to me. So I think they infiltrate everything all the time. But when you go to who's funded, who's not funded, it's very interesting. So if we get back into what was the last major, what was his name? Kavanaugh?
Brett Kavanaugh?
Yeah,
Brett
we talked
Kavanaugh.
about it here, but I don't know if if you've ever studied that trial at all. But that woman who came forward, she was actually the head of the CIA recruitment in Stanford, and her father was in charge of Black Ops, finding funding for Black Ops, which brings us to JFK. And you
Let's go, baby.
Was the Mossad involved? And then you get into, out of Louisiana, Meyer Lansky. And Meyer Lansky was known as the fucking mob accountant. He was also part of the Jewish mob and a giant Zionist. So his job was to find funding for Mossad.
And to find, operations, hired guns, whatever they need, right? Like those are connections that are very tight and very useful for both sides of that relationship.
And it's really crazy because everyone's always like, oh, dude, they took out JFK because of the Fed, and that was part of the Fed, but it was really about nuclear war, and I think the nuclear factory, but the registration of AIPAC as a foreign lobbyist. Because if
everyone always wants a simple explanation for these things, right? They want it to be one reason or like one group did it. But the far more likely, especially looking at the evidence around JFK, the far more likely is that it was a confluence of lots of extremely powerful groups that all conspired. Like the mafia was involved for obvious reasons. Mossad was involved for very obvious reasons, exactly the ones that you're talking about there. The CIA was involved because Kennedy was no friend to the old hats at the CIA. And Lyndon Baines Johnson was probably involved too.
Yeah, I mean, like Lyndon B. Johnson, most likely gay and Jewish, at the farthest way back. But you bring up about these clumsiness of the CIA, but I mean, Mossad, like how many times does Mossad get busted and nothing happens? So why wouldn't you just keep going? You're like, if they bust us, don't worry about it. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
When
you own the bank, I mean, you've got some pretty powerful friends to get you off the hook for some problems.
It's so crazy, dude. It's so crazy. And then so then we get into this whole thing. I've been reading a lot of books right now. Believe me, Johnny, multiple books. Shut the fuck up.
I
I'm on
definitely
that same
believe
train
you've
right now, man.
You've
You
opened
can get things
multiple
from books you can't get anywhere else.
I guarantee
I've
you
opened many books,
that. I
John.
believe that. Yeah.
And, the whole narrative about Hitler being like this establishment guy. And it's just like based on what I'm reading, and because these books come with the receipts, I don't believe any of that. I believe, why would Hitler be any different than every other leader we've ever had that is selected, not elected? And his history, maybe he was Rothschild, maybe he wasn't. But dude, when you look into Ford, you look into oil, not Mobil Oil. What was the other one? It was something Standard
Oil.
Standard Oil. You look into ITT, International Telegraph and Telegram and Telephone. I mean, you can go on forever. Prescott Bush of Wall Street. So there's the big one is IG Farber. I believe that's the name.
IG Farben.
Farben. I thank you guys. You're both cleaning up my stuff today. IG Farben. You look at what a role it had in the rebuilding of the German military. So IG Farben had not only a German board, but it also had an American board called American IG. And on that board were literally the people who ran the New York Federal Reserve, dude, on the board. On the board. And if you're telling me that Hitler's a guy, why didn't he go into Switzerland? I ask people that all the time. No, dude, he's bad. Why didn't he go into Switzerland? And they just stammer and they come up with this, he's trying to get steel. No, dude. No, because the Bank of International Settlements was created just for that. Your thoughts on it as I'm yelling at everybody.
No, I'm with you. I don't have any thoughts that I feel like I know are true, but I know that I don't buy the classical take on World War II and the politics that led into and out of it. And I mean, the most obvious one that everyone can just understand immediately is like, how many people in America know about the business plot and the like literal plot to overthrow the American government with a Nazi fascist coup that was led by all the American businessmen in like 1938 or something like that. They were plotting to, like, they were literally like Prescott Bush himself with a bunch of his buddies that ran all these companies were planning to overthrow the government and instate a fascist dictatorship with Smedley Butler as the head. Right. And it just got swept under the rug because it didn't go through because Smedley Butler ratted them all out. But the plan was for us to be Nazis. Like, the plan was for America to be on the Nazi side, pretty much. At least whatever that means, right?
Right.
It's hard to even understand what that means.
Well, if you ask me, I think we are Nazis. I don't think Nazis lost World War II. I think Germany did. I think they just walked over, dude.
Yeah.
I think when you change
Bush's
your name,
kid and grandkid both led our country.
If Ian Carroll led like this evil army of murderers and killers, and he quote unquote lost, would he come over and still have his name Ian Carroll?
Yeah, probably not.
You got to change your name, dude. It's crazy. What is your thoughts on the history of the CIA?
Oh, dude. So it's like my ultimate rabbit hole right now. It's what I'm spend the most of my own time in. The book that I'm reading like for bed right now is about the CIA. It's my favorite. And I think that it's the most important rabbit hole for everyone to understand right now, partially because it's accessible and everyone can understand, like, they know what, it's not like some obscure, like AstraZeneca, whatever. It's not like, but also because ever since World War II, we've been living in the age of covert warfare, and covert warfare inherently makes us all the targets. Like, the targets of warfare is no longer soldiers on a battlefield. That's just the collateral damage after like hot operations have started. But our minds, like our perceptions, are the targets. And the CIA was founded to overthrow governments and to falsify elections and to start coups. And they've done it all around the world. And there's a lot of evidence they've done it here, but we're not allowed to talk about that.
Yeah.
And so I think most Americans have no conception of how much of their media landscape, their like thought landscape, their political landscape is actually a covert intelligence operation in many ways. And understanding the history of that helps you to be informed when it's like, oh, I wonder why the government of Ukraine got overthrown in 2014. That's really weird. I wonder who did that.
Yeah, and
Things like that.
So I'm an old school. I'm old school liberal. It would probably be considered libertarian right now. And
Me too.
You know, and I have been accused of being a Trumper and being a election denier, which I do not deny my election denying. Okay, and because it didn't start with the 2020. It started for me with 2000. And then later I realized that, JFK, they fucked that thing up too as well. Like, people talk about all the votes Joe Biden got. JFK got almost as many votes back in the 1950s. Think about that, dude.
Yeah.
Think about that, how many less people there were. And he got the same amount of votes as like someone like a Joe Biden did, basically. So
that's interesting. I didn't know that. So you're saying that sort of the establishment helped pad Kennedy to make Kennedy win?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So do you know the kind of the tinfoil about Kennedy sort of fooling the Italian mafia and his dad and sort of making promises to them as though he was like super on their team and then kind of reneging those promises once he was in office?
Not only just reneging it, getting his brother to go and prosecute them.
Right. So it kind of almost sounds like putting those two pieces together of almost as though Kennedy kind of tricked the establishment into thinking he was their guy, got in, and then was like, all right, now let's take down the establishment. And then
100. That's my opinion. And it also gets into that, you know, I don't know if it happened with Kennedy, but like, I feel they rig elections when they really need somebody in because they have something big planned.
Yeah.
Like really big planned. Like,
I mean, it's a good thing they didn't have anything really big planned for this presidential cycle that we're currently in. That would be right. I can't think of anything going on in the world over the last 4 years that would require a specific president.
100%. 100%. And so if you get into like why they wanted George Bush in, and Al Gore is completely involved in this cover up because he can actually vote to investigate the election, and he goes, "No, I'm good." And you're like, "Okay, bro."
Interesting.
That's why I'm like, "Oh, this thing is all a ruse." And it's like 9/11 was coming.
Yep.
And they wanted Dick Cheney.
Wasn't it the second Bush election when Kerry was up against him?
Yeah.
And they're both skull and bonesmen.
100%.
Yeah, well, and Tim
did
Russert,
you know that Steven Schwartzman, the founder of Blackstone, is Skull and Bones from the exact same year as both of them?
What are the chances of that?
Yeah.
Well, and Tim Russert was the guy who asked them both about it, who dropped dead.
Now he's
just
dead.
a few years later.
Yeah, you don't
Funny how that works.
Well, I mean, if you even just study at the core, all the Ivy League schools were started by fucking opium families.
Yep.
All 13 of them.
One of the last.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how much of our nation and our like current global structure is actually founded on black market black market money.
Oh yeah, 100%. And dude, the stock market, they say if you actually stopped illegal drugs, the stock market would fall in on itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't
Both
that
because of the money
crazy?
they need and because of the drugs they need in order to function.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. They're like, if you cured cancer, the economy will crash. If you stop drug abuse, the economy will crash. Like, what kind of economy do we have to have if you have to survive off of cancer and just drugging out your population?
Maybe it should crash in that case. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
oh my God.
Maybe it's about to because GameStop's going to go to the fucking moon, baby.
Johnny got in on the action.
Yeah.
Did you get in on the action?
Oh, I've been holding ever since 2021.
You're
and
still
I'm
holding
never
from
even
21?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I've been chilling the whole time. Most of the like hardcore GameStop communities have been sitting around digging through evidence and finding all the receipts for all their criminal activity. And so we're just chilling now. And I'm probably not even going to sell this time either. It's not like I don't need the money. And I was sitting around waiting, and it was that community that inspired me to start doing my research and build my channel. So in a certain way, I like already built my own wealth out of that experience.
Wow.
And now I don't even feel any need to sell any shares. I'm just going to chill and watch.
I love that, dude. I'm a holder too. It's kind of blown up in my face a little bit, but I'm a holder.
Yeah, but fuck those guys. I mean,
fuck those guys. So we get into, it's so funny. I have another podcast called Broken Sim, and we broke down that this YouTube channel went after me. They're called Sad Boys, and I'm fine with it. Like, dude, I don't give a shit.
Boys with a
what
Z.
a name.
Yeah, Boys with a Z. Very, very sensitive
Nice.
men. Johnny sent me a comment where somebody's like, I forget the name of which one of the guys. I know which one it was, but in terms of like if I was reading vibes, who felt like that, it was one of the two guys on the couch,
was,
right?
yeah.
Right. And they're like, dude, it's okay if you love women's basketball. Don't be afraid of that. That's all right. It's really nice when guys can admit that they love women's basketball. I'm like, every dude I've ever met that loves women's basketball is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's a sure sign you're a shady motherfucker, okay? Very weird.
Good point. It's a good point.
They got mad. So I was on Rogan, right? And we were and I was bringing up Operation High Jump.
Yeah.
And they were playing that clip, and of course, you know, Ian, I'm not smart. I'm functionally illiterate.
I'm right there with you, brother.
You're my guest. You've fixed my grammar 3 times. Like that's I'm not doing well. Okay, so I make no illusions.
I mean, you're
it.
doing well for what you are.
For a guy who flunked first grade and can't write to save his life, I had to rip up a check last night because the chicken scratch was so bad. Yeah. That's how poorly I'm doing. But they were making fun of how I delivered the story, which is fine. You got to nitpick, which I would actually get into is like, isn't it when you're really intelligent? I don't think they're smart. I think they're intelligent. And you're picking on someone who's stupid. Isn't that like punching down?
Absolutely, it is.
Is that like being dumb is the only thing you can tee off on now?
Yeah.
Nobody gets mad when
unless you're so dumb, you're technically turn.
We call them the downs, Johnny, and they're rising. They're taking jujitsu now.
Downs are
Have
up,
you noticed that? Yeah. The downs are taking jujitsu. Good luck with getting that
Damn
tap.
straight, dude. They're strong.
Yeah, they are strong, dude. And someone said in an age where AI will take away all the jobs, the most powerful tool to have is emotion. And the Downs have all the emotions. They can connect the most. That's a good point. Yeah, it's good. Everyone's worried about Planet of the Apes. I'm telling you, Planet of the Downs is coming, dude. so, what was the point of that whole rant?
You were talking about going on Rogan. And talking about that story.
So they were making fun of that story because I said he went up there to bang, which is what he did. He went up there with a military force. He didn't go up there to explore. Sure. He went up there to go fuck some people up. So, and you get into that, so you get into like, they go up there, New Schwabenland, Klaus Schwab, there's the connections. And then they come down to the White House and you see all the, the UFOs that nobody talks about anymore above and again, that's why I think that the Nazis didn't lose the war. I think Germany did. And this whole thing with technology and all that stuff. What's your thoughts on just the whole disclosure and all that?
I have so many thoughts about disclosure. My first thought about disclosure is I basically entertain all the theories, don't write any of them off, and I just kind of like let them all float in my thought process as I learn. And so like the high jump stuff is a great example. The theories about Nazis down in Antarctica with potential UFO technology, which is like if you've never heard of that before, that sounds completely ridiculous. That sounds like, what are you talking about? But like, look into the evidence. It's actually pretty interesting. And if we don't have any idea if it's true or not, but like, I'm not about to write it off because we do have like so much evidence that there is something going on. And I did an interview lately with Ashton Forbes, who's the one blowing up the MH370 flight thing on Twitter. Yes. And he's super interesting to talk to. And we got really into sort of like the most concrete version of the evidence. But the way I see it is that it's highly likely that there is at least one species that is not humans as we think of them today. They might be from the future or the past, or they might be from other dimensions, or they might be from outer space. And we don't necessarily know which or what of that it is. And they're probably underwater because there's a shitload of underwater sightings and there's a shitload of documents that talk about underwater stuff. They could very well be underground and in Antarctica too. And the government certainly knows about it and might be colluding with them in some form, working for them in some form. And then the speculation that gets really interesting is once you start to connect that to things like the pedophile and sex trafficking networks, the blackmail networks, like those people are powerful enough that they might know some of this. They might be involved in it in some way. Like I can't help but start to connect things like adrenochrome theories to alien theories. And I don't know if any of it's true, but it's like, damn, that would be really dark if it was.
That would be dark.
That'd be super dark, but it would make the way that my brain tends to work is I think through a theory, and if it's like really crazy, then you need a way that if you were in the shoes of the person that's in that conspiracy doing the thing, you need a way for their brain to explain the world that would make them justify their actions to themselves. And so if I'm like one of these like elite pedophiles that's like sacrificing children and stuff, what could convince you that that was the right way to live your life? And like, yeah, maybe just being such a shitty person. But if you had the inside scoop on aliens and you had been in the room with an extraterrestrial, and that extraterrestrial had told you things about the universe, or had shown you like something about, and you know, like if it had drained a child right in front of you or something, or threatened to kill the whole world if you didn't bring it a child, those sorts of things would be like, I could imagine those starting to explain how evil some of these people are, or Lord knows what. Like
Well, you know, it gets into like, you know, aliens versus demons, and what is that? And are they talking to aliens? Are they just talking to demons versus angels?
Yeah.
I lean more towards that than the other way, but I'm
agree.
open-minded to all of it.
I mean, in a way, it almost seems like aliens were the psyop all along.
Yeah.
Right. And what Elon is saying about he's never had to like reposition a satellite around a UFO or whatever, I mean, that fits perfectly with that psyop of like, look, the most knowledgeable guy says there's no aliens in outer space. It's like, yeah, because we're not talking about outer space, bro. We're talking about like right here in the ocean, on the ground, underground, in the books that have been around for thousands of years. Everyone talks about them. It's like,
Yep.
I think them being from here and a part of this place is, and a part of like spiritual in some form, extra dimensional in some form.
Dude, if you think
Makes a
about
ton
that
more
one
sense.
video that they had, you know, the Air Force released. Now, you can say what you will about those videos, but you do see that it is clearly designed to go into the water. Like it lost no speed dipping into the water and
then traveling at
descending.
unbelievable speeds underwater, which is like,
which shouldn't
even
be
a
possible.
bullet can't do that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you go like 5 feet underwater and somebody could spray you with bullets and it wouldn't. It's the water's so dense that the
I
bullets
talked
lose
to
speed
Ashton
so
Forbes a
quickly.
lot about that technology, about like warp drive technology, and his theory, and it tracks a lot. And we read some papers that are basically like regular physics trying to explain this stuff, talking about how if there's a fifth dimension that would be ether, they're talking about making like little warp bubbles where you open up, essentially it's like what we're calling dark energy and dark matter right now, because we don't know what the fuck it is like opening up a little warp bubble where you're actually outside of our spatial dimensions.
Like
so you have
Star Trek,
it's exactly like Star Trek. Star Trek was right all
Dude,
along.
that is
sounds like.
crazy.
Think about all the shit Star Trek's gotten right, by the way. It's just like a litany of things. I mean, they had those little cell phones that they carried around, you know. In
The only thing
And then the physics of that is actually that when you do that, we already understand that if those physics are real, then radar technology interferes with that bubble. And there's a lot of disclosure people that talk about radar and scalar technology shooting crafts down and stuff like that.
Fascinating.
And nuclear blasts crashing them.
Oh, that would explain why
Which makes
they
a ton
have
of sense.
such an interest in the nuke. I mean, you see these craft around. They're trying to. That's
Exactly.
fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Can I ask you really quickly? Do you think the people that have talked about them being underwater, do they think those are native beings or that they're here from abroad?
I mean, it's anyone's guess at this point.
Okay.
The only people that would know is people that are read in a big way.
Okay.
But I will say that if anyone's read the Kona Blue documents that Tucker recently referenced on the Joe Rogan Experience, those documents are really interesting. And they talk about hot spots of like elevated alien activity that they want to study further. And one of them is the Bigelow Ranch, the Skinwalker Ranch. They tried to redact it in a part of it, but then later on you can read into it and realize that they're definitely saying that Skinwalker Ranch is real and it is a serious hotspot of activity they wanted to look into. And then there's a lot of indication that the Bermuda Triangle is another active hotspot that they want to observe more of. And they have a special military base out there for like underwater studies. I forget what it's called.
Well, yeah, they lost a ship there, right? And what was it,
lots of them.
50s or 60s, that famous
so there's some pretty cool speculation about like maybe an underwater alien base, alien, like an underwater base of some sort in the Bermuda Triangle, or perhaps maybe like like an underwater pyramid or something.
Yeah. Or
I've been recently
cloaked,
learning about the
right?
Black Pyramid in Egypt or in Alaska. Connecting the ancient cultures conspiracies to the extraterrestrial conspiracies is really interesting.
That is interesting, dude. That's very
And I mean, it
interesting.
kind of like blows the lid off. So for me, the biggest question growing up was always like, why do they care so much if we have alternate Egypt theories? Like, why does that matter? Right?
Yeah,
it's
they're defensive about that for sure.
Why do you think they care?
Because if you crack open the Egypt theories, you crack open the extraterrestrial theories because they're the same thing. right?
Yeah.
Because like if all the technologies that we're looking at in like these ancient megalithic structures and the beings that made them pre whatever Younger Dryas event happened, like those are all of the same storylines that lead forwards into whatever the extraterrestrial beings that we have today are, and probably a lot of the same energy structures. Like it makes a lot of sense that that if those two things are connected, then keeping the lid on the ancient Egypt story would be essential to keeping the lid on the disclosure story today.
And it also gets into like the narrative of like this group of people controlling everything, and reality is that story isn't true, and that actually, you know, whether you believe in Tartaria or not, that there's just like our humanity has been here a lot longer, and there's a lot more going on, and there's a lot more magical going on, free energy and all that stuff. And like, why are we paying $5 a gallon for gas when people make engines that run on water? Why are they doing run on air, run on this, run on that? That is it. And I do think, I don't know what happened to Alex Jones yesterday, but he was like, it's over. I'm apologizing to my family.
What?
I don't know, man. It was like
I didn't see it.
A real weird thing. He was just like saying that it was over. And I'm like, everyone's like, what is this? Everyone's asking, what do you think this means? I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to watch. I'm watching just like you. Get your popcorn ready. But
trying to interpret what Alex Jones means is a losing ball game usually.
yeah, and it's just like,
enjoy the show.
You know, it's like, and everyone's like, Alex Jones controlled opposition and all this stuff. I'm like, he's more right than he's wrong. He's like way more.
I don't think so.
More right than he's wrong, and the things that he's gotten wrong, he's kind of come out and said he like, hey, dude, like he's been teeing off on Israel lately, and people because he doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
In a big way. Yeah.
Big time, big time.
Yeah, he had one stream where he like said some of the most intense, like he went straight back to like the terrorists that founded Israel. He went all through their history. It was like, I mean, he went into like the Zionists buying the land during World War I and stuff like that. It was the kind of thing where I posted it a few different places and was like, explain to me how Israeli controlled opposition would ever want someone to say these words in any setting.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. And the only thing they'll say is it divides, conquers, presents divide and conquer even more. But it opens up to criticism of them, and they don't want that. They don't want you to be able to start connecting dots of what's going on. And they also don't want you to go, oh, it's not Jews, it's Zionists and what that represents. So they start freaking the fuck out. Is this it?
This? Is it where he's talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's see.
I want to apologize to everybody, and I mean that. I want to apologize. I didn't do more back when we probably could have stopped.
Hold on, it's not.
I want to apologize.
Hold on, I gotta change the output here. It switched.
It's very weird.
Oh, it's gonna come out.
It already looks weird.
Focused. I want to apologize. I wasn't more dedicated. I want to apologize. I wasn't more urgent. But I only say that to be honest with you. When I point a finger at you, there's three more back at me. You need to apologize to yourself. You need to apologize to your family. Because we're not getting out of this now. I did everything I could to stop this. And now I've got to give you the bad news, and I got to give my family the bad news. I've given my wife the bad news that we're going to be chewed up by the New World Order now.
Jeez.
Now, what matters is your relationship with God.
I agree
What
with
matters
that.
is that you prepare spiritually for this and physically. And the evidence is overwhelming. They'll be destroyed in the process. They will be defeated as well. They're Satan's pimps. Of course they will. It doesn't lessen the fact of how horrible this is. And I apologize for having to give you this bad news. But I don't think you even need me to tell you to you. So, good times are over. It's like that song from The Doors. It's all over for the unknown soldier. The war is over for the unknown soldier. But understand, if they bring in martial law and they win this war, they are going to take your children from you if you survive. They're going to mutilate them and torture them with drugs and cut their breasts and genitals off because they're Hellraiser cult leaders. Imagine there was a cult running around that grabbed kids and cut their genitals off. You're like, God, they're the worst cult ever, worse than MS-13. But it's the government's like, oh, it's liberal. So now let's do what it takes to stop this. Let's not comply with anything the system says. The social contract's broken. Let's warn everybody 24/7. Let's physically get ready and spiritually get ready, and let's expose their operations on every front. And ask God, not what you want. This is my opinion. You can take it or leave it. I don't ask God in prayers, except occasionally, maybe 1 out of 100 prayers, I'll say, and please protect my children. If that's your, that's your plan, that's your will, but whatever happens, I understand. I just ask God, will you please give me discernment? I am a weak, broken creature. I am a sinner. Can you please, I have free will, but I ask you to come into me, and I ask you to lead God and direct me, and I ask you to sanctify me and help me be a good person. Of course, God still says, that's up to you, you have free will, but I will give you the discernment. I will give you the path if you want to follow it. God shows the way like a light. You have to follow the path. And the path is very rough. But when you get through it, you realize it was the only path through.
Yes.
So there are a lot of people want to bargain with the system. They want to bargain with the New World Order. They want to bargain with the culture. They want to play all sides. They want to be friends with everybody. That way leads to total destruction.
Yep. That we get
the path through.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to keep going. We'll take a break. But, I think
he was responding to something specific.
Yes.
Right? Like something that has happened behind the scenes that he learned had happened.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Like a declaration of war or a handshake or a deal that, right?
It's concerning. Yeah.
It is concerning.
And I mean, he did kind of flip it partway through to sort of say, like, it's over and we're going to get chewed up. And then later it was like, so now it's time to do everything we can to like fight them on every front. So it's hard to say how concrete of a like how beyond a point of no return his perception of whatever he knows about is. But I mean, he has a lot of sources, and he's clearly talking about something that a source has told him is happening. And I can only think of a few things that would qualify.
What do you think?
Things that come to mind are the Red Heifer conspiracy, Israel and or Ukraine war deals of various sorts, and maybe a currency type deal around the coming global financial collapse and a new world currency, a digital currency of some sort. Those are the kind of things that come to mind first. Oh, or another disease, another pandemic.
They have been talking about that thing out of Texas, right?
How about Mitt Romney? Like, bird flu is everywhere. We have to walk. Like, dude, shut the fuck up.
I think they've blown their load on pandemics. Honestly, I don't think they can pull another one off. I think that too many people have seen through the lies, and there's too much coming out about it now that, like, I don't think it would work regardless of how deadly the next one is.
Well, that's the part that scares me, is that it would have to be sufficiently deadly to really shake people. They'd have to lose people close to them, and that concerns me because I have, there are these people who think that nobody died on 9/11 or it's not what you think. But to me, all of these events, people died because they have no
100%.
regard for collateral damage. They just view people as disposable.
Death is death, dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, okay, so I don't want to keep you all day, man. This has been a great conversation. I want to get into some final thoughts with you.
Yeah, man.
So we get into this. First of all, do you think that jet disappeared? Do you think the MH370 technology?
I lean towards yes. I lean towards Ashton has done extensive due diligence on it. And I don't ever go with anything for certain, but I lean heavily towards Ashton's theories are probably very correct, that was government-owned technology that went and warped that plane away, probably to get a hold of the Chinese defectors that were taking their technology and ideas away into China, and possibly anything they had with them. And they're probably either dead now or secreted away on an island or witness protection for the rest of their lives. And I think that the leaker leaked it because he had access to those terminals and decided to leak it because it was that striking that was happening. And I think that Ashton is also correct about who the leaker was, Edward C. Lynn. I think
Really?
he's on point with it all. Yeah.
I mean,
I could be
I'm
wrong,
telling you,
but-
it's sorcery, dude. Y'all think I'm a crazy person. They've seriously hardwired sorcery. They have Doctor Strange level fucking technology.
I mean, in the Kona Blue documents, they directly talk about consciousness controlling the technology that they're studying, meaning that the spacecrafts they're recovering are controlled by thoughts.
I believe
And they
it.
obviously have a lot about remote viewers and de and rematerialization techniques and transferring matter across space-time barriers also
I believe
in an official
it, dude.
government report.
I believe it, dude. 100%. I believe it, dude. I believe
The
all
world
that.
is not what we thought.
The world is not what we thought. It's a lot more interesting. You can totally 100% be in on this, on the mysticism, if you learn how to do it, how to manipulate energy. And first of all, I do believe in my heart of hearts, and this is something I want to do very badly, is get out of the big city.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. I think they just stifle our fucking psychic abilities here with these 5Gs. All
The energy signals, all of it. It's trash.
All of it is trash.
It's not
dude.
just that too. It's the air we breathe. I mean, this brake dust.
Yep.
I live next to the 10, dude. I mean, think about that shit. Just it can't be good for
I
you.
live just a little ways from the 101, dude. It's not good.
The food we eat, the water we drink. I mean, it really comes back to if you actually want to become your best self, it's obviously like take care of your health. It's like try your best in whatever whoever's listening, like whatever your situation is, it's like try to get good food, try to get clean water, try to get clean air, try to get out into nature, get spiritual,
That's all.
get
I
with
want.
God, whatever it is you need, like whatever's right to you.
That's all I want, dude.
Right? Back
That's
to
all
humanity.
I want. So, you brought up GameStop earlier. There was the guy who set himself on fire right before he and he did a manifesto. He had a manifesto, and then he
I
had.
don't mean to laugh at that part of that. I was laughing at the juxtaposition of the two things. Sorry.
Okay, no, it's fine, and you can laugh at it. It's tinfoil hat. We laugh at weird things. But he had a manifesto, and he was talking about how crypto is a giant Ponzi scheme, and which is very interesting because Johnny and I were both a victim of Celsius, Celsius exchange scheme, and he took all of our money. And Johnny, did you send me the video? But somebody sent me a video which stated that you might be able to actually write off the losses if you claim it as a Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi scheme losses. Yeah.
And so what are your thoughts? Because you're getting GameStop and what it represents and how much of that is naturally like that and how much is GameStop a naturally occurring thing? Do we get back into, is this part of this intelligence agency's manipulation of stuff? What are your thoughts on all that?
There's a lot of different parts to that, and I'm not sure which ones I'm specifically getting asked about, but I'll hit them all quick. Is that there is real worry that all or some of crypto is actually controlled, or those are important conspiracy theories for people to dig all the way out through. ETHgate, there's important ones about Bitcoin too, because it might save the world, or it might be a CIA operation from the start, and it's kind of hard to tell. But GameStop itself is this is just my opinion, and I've been in it for a long time and studied it a shitload, but I think it's one of the most incredible but organic and naturally occurring stories there is. And I put out a video about it I think yesterday, explaining in 10 minutes. I fit it all into one TikTok video, like the whole thesis about the crime that led to it and why that got these guys trapped in this short squeeze that didn't actually ever squeeze, and they tried to pretend like it did and tried to trick us all into leaving, and then everyone was like, nah, fuck you, I'm not leaving. I put the whole thesis into one 10-minute video. And I think that the funny magic of it all is you couldn't plan this kind of shit out. I mean, maybe you could, but the fact that it's a company called GameStop, the fact that the people that were short selling it throughout the years and years leading into this thing, they had done that already to lots of other companies. That was a recurring strategy that they had developed in order to loot companies from the inside out and profit off of shorting them into bankruptcy. And GameStop was just their next target. So when accidentally some random dude on the internet that likes to live stream with a red headband who he would literally live stream to like 4 people. Deep fucking Value was like the most humble dude ever.
Yeah.
And he just was like, I like this company and I'm going to buy it. And then while he was in the process of doing that, then this like entrepreneur comes out of nowhere and is like, I'm going to buy this company and turn it around. And he bought in and kicked out all the people that they had planted in the company to mismanage it into the ground.
Whoa.
And he started to turn it all. Yeah. It was a whole, so there's a whole aspect of the GameStop thing where they had infiltrated the company and they were mismanaging it from the inside out and gutting it for money outwards. And then their friends were all short selling it downwards. So they had this like dual 2-part attack. And then they have media buddies that are writing bad articles about it to make everyone be like, oh, it's going down. It's time to sell. So the price just goes all the way down. And what they do is then when they short sell the price all the way down into bankruptcy and the stock goes away, they never have to close any of those short sales out. And it's all tax-free gains because it's not technically capital gains because you never actually close the trade. It's just free money.
Holy
and they've
shit.
done it over and over to multiple companies. They did it to Sears. Pier 1 Imports is a likely candidate. They first learned they could do that kind of thing, I think, at Toys R Us, though they did it slightly less cohesively.
Motherfuckers. You fuck Toys R Us.
Toys R Us.
Yeah. Imagine what kind of scumbag you got to be.
That's my child.
You have to be Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney did it?
It was Bain Capital that took down Toys R Us. It was not Bain Capital that did GameStop. That is a whole different cadre of people. But when Bain Capital first took down Toys R Us, it was one of the first examples of sort of like they bought into the company using the company itself as leverage. They barely put up any money. They bought into Toys R Us and said, we'll put up part of the business that we're about to own as collateral on the loan to get the money to buy the business that we're about to put. It was like this, it's called a leverage buyout. It's the most insane concept ever. And then they gutted the company from the inside out, sold off all the properties to their buddies, did massive share buybacks to pay the money back out to themselves, and just basically like ran it into the ground and then left with billions of dollars. And everyone else was looking in and they were like, fuck, dude, that was a really smart strategy. Like, I should do that too. And then you enter the era of vulture capitalism where that's like a legitimate market strategy is to find a company to prey on, infiltrate it, buy it out, and then gut it for parts and leave.
That's just evil, dude, and I mean, but that's just at the core. Fractional reserve banking is the most diabolical, brilliant fucking thing ever. And if it didn't destroy humanity and put a lot of people into pain and suffering, you'd be like, "That's the smartest shit I've ever seen in my life."
Yeah, it's a Shark Tank.
It sure is.
We can't be surprised we got sharks. You know what I mean? They made the Shark Tank.
Yep.
Holy shit. And even if you got to that level, I guarantee you they would just slowly figure out a way to get you out of the circle.
Yep.
And just,
but before we move on from it, the beauty of that whole thing is that they create these rule systems. They create the Shark Tank, right? So that they can gobble people up. They can play the game how they want. But the funny irony is that they didn't, what the GameStop people realize is that there's a really simple rule that's just the basic part of the market structure that kind of beats their game, because you can't force me to sell something. Like, you can't force me to sell the shares you need. And part of their strategy, which they've never gotten caught doing before, and they have like, it's a 3-part system. It's like they have the media on their team, they have insiders in the company. It's like, why would they even be worried about getting caught? But they didn't realize that like all that short selling like can be beaten if there are thousands and thousands and thousands of buyers that will not sell. And then normally you would use the media to get them to sell, but we see through that now. And so it's like the most simple cheat code ever is like, we just buy and we hold, and they're trapped in this massive, like billions and billions and billions and billions and billions worth of dollars that they need to close, and they can't because we have all their shares.
Oh, man.
And that's why the stock's been so crazy. That's why it's called a meme stock, is because it doesn't behave like it should, because there's all this crazy secret pressure on it trying to like make it explode all the time. And that's why it just exploded again this week. And we're all still holding, because fuck them.
Good.
Yeah, they can go to jail.
Johnny, have you held or you sell?
Oh, I sold already.
Oh, come on, you
I got in and out fast. Yeah, it popped 30 and 30%. I mean, sorry, 100%. I'm up 100%, and I was out.
So, and I mean, no shame on people that are taking gains for their family and stuff. I just don't want to, because like I'm here to fuck these people up.
I love it. I'm buying it right now.
Well, I didn't know anything about them actually infiltrating the company. I mean,
not financial advice, obviously, but like it's anyone could just buy a share, to hold a part of history.
Yeah.
Because like collectively, these are the people ruining our economy. These are the people tied into the destruction of our whole, like, our lives. And it's such an easy way to just like be a part of the story that is fucking them in the ass right now.
I had no idea about them actually infiltrating that company with
wild.
people. Like,
yeah,
Danny,
it's on
why
my,
are you such
you
a
guys should check
sellout?
out the video that I put out. It's the top of my TikTok and the top of my
I
X
will.
feed right
I
now.
will.
After this stream, you guys should check it out later today. It's
Yeah,
fucking. It kind of lays that whole scheme out piece by piece and makes it really clear that like there's lots of evidence that this is like a criminal cartel that is sort of, because all those pieces are legal on their own. It's just that once they realize that they were all friends and they all like to profit off of companies dying at the same time, it's like, why don't we just like do it together?
the sad thing is that Gabe Plotkin, the guy from Melvin Capital, is the owner of my favorite basketball team now. He just bought the Hornets from Jordan. It's like killing me.
Well,
dude.
Johnny, sometimes
killing me.
Sometimes you have to kill the people you love.
He's now killing my favorite basketball team.
Sometimes
now
you gotta do
now
that.
I'm worried he's going to move
They
it
love to
somewhere
own
else.
sports teams.
Yeah, they really do. So you obviously you blew up. Well, real quick. So we have another show called Cash Daddies, right? And it's a stock show. And so I follow, like, some people would say the conservative content creators on YouTube and stuff like this, like the Jeremy from the Quarterling, and I love his story. He reminds me very much of like someone who created their own business and a brand, and they made it amazing. So I love supporting him, and and I get the game of the internet, which is say crazy shit in the title to get people to click. And so Jeremy's like, Netflix in trouble, and this thing in trouble, bottoming out, bankrupt, and which I'm not saying that it's not true. But so I'll take what Jeremy's saying, and then I'll go on our podcast with our friend named Howie Dewey, who is not in the conspiracies at all. He's an
ex-Wall Street guy. Yeah.
He's an ex-Wall Street guy, lives in New York City, just is as normie as you could get, okay?
Well, I would say normal. But,
outside of dating a bin Laden, outside of that, he's the most normal guy you could meet for idiot savant, heavy on the idiot, okay? So I'll come with this data. I've read about, these guys are in trouble. Like, I'll come to him and he'll be like, well, that's crazy because the stock just shot up and the stock just did this and the stock. And it's getting to something that Lee Camp, who is a big part of why I started this show, because of his research into the Hillary Clinton and the exit polls in 2015. And I'm like, I got to do a show like that. So I owe him a lot, him and Jimmy Dore. But,
everyone knows Jimmy Dore a lot at this point.
Yeah, I love Jimmy
What a
Dore.
legend.
But by the way, helping Jimmy Dore get into the conspiracy world, of course. Hey, look into this, dude. Look into this.
Yeah, I think you've been the red pill for a lot of people over the time.
Thank you, buddy. That means a lot coming from you, buddy. I will be clipping that and playing it on a reel. But Lee Camp a long time ago said that Wall Street is a giant Ponzi scheme. And that always resonated with me. And then as we get in this last year where you're like, Netflix, everyone's unsubscribing, and then their rates go, then their numbers go up. I go, oh man, I think Lee Camp was more right than maybe even understands. And, so you get in this GameStop stuff. What's your thought? Is it just a giant Ponzi scheme?
Oh yeah. And I'll just give you two quick things to kind of get your brain turning here. Is one of the main things that we learned in GameStop is before GameStop, no one ever said the words naked short selling, because what naked short selling implies is that normally you're supposed to borrow from someone a real share and sell it, but naked short selling is legal and it's allowed for certain market makers and it's allowed under certain circumstances. And it basically is saying sometimes you can't find the borrowed share in time. So you're allowed to just invent a share and sell it as long as you promise for sure that you're going to go and find a share later. And we have discovered that is not how it works. They can just click a button and they can just invent shares and sell them. And so the market is full of synthetic shares. And there's an example of a man who that was happening to his company, and he bought more than 100% of the shares of his company, all with his own money, to hold them and to try to control the naked short selling of his company. And the next day, his company just kept trading like normal, like thousands of shares. So there's all these fake shares out there that are synthetic, but then beyond that, all the shares that like we all hold in our brokerage accounts that we think are real shares, those are actually just paper IOUs that mean nothing. It's just like a fiat currency of stocks. Yeah, and it's all owned. Shares are actually all owned by this central clearing corporation called the DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. If you go to their website, the dtcc.com, I think, something like that, they say right there that like we are the custodian of like some massive number of $1 trillion of all the stock assets on the New York Stock Exchange, et cetera, because that's where like all the trades are actually happening there. And we just have these fake slips that are, some of them are synthetic in the first place, that we're all just trading around.
So crazy, dude.
It's all made up. And the DTCC was founded by a card carrying CIA agent. Which I think it's unrelated, but it's hilarious that it's
What
true.
is that company called? And do you think they run the world?
The Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, DTCC, and I don't think they run the world. And I think that the CIA agent that founded them, I've read some interviews from him and stuff. I think he was like was who he was, and he was actually thinking he was trying to make markets more efficient. I think that's probably true, but as often happens, right, with the Council on Foreign Relations is another example where like sometimes an organization gets founded that's going to serve a really useful purpose, and the people founding it don't really think through like what it'll get used for later. But then over time, it's like, okay, now we'll take that thing over because we need to run the whole stock market the way we want. And yeah, I think the DTC, if you look at the board of directors of the DTCC, it is just a who's who of like the biggest banks, the biggest regulators of the banks, the biggest trading firms, the hedge funds, like Citadel is on there. All these various people that basically every single person that has the biggest stake in the market working exactly how it does for all of them to commit the fraud that they do. And that's the business that owns all the shares and is ultimately the overwatch of like, if we wanted to know if there's a bunch of fake shares of GameStop, we need to go to the DTCC and ask them if there are. And they're the ones that basically get to decide that like, no, you're not allowed to see that. Yeah. Because we're not.
So crazy to me, dude.
Even though it's like we live in fucking 2024, bro. I can like literally sit here and video podcast all around the world with my buddies, like, and you can't run a simple spreadsheet that can keep track of some numbers. Like, you kidding me?
So,
that's the easiest public information ever.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. It's
Yeah.
crazy to me. I want to end on this. The TikTok, obviously, you blew up off of TikTok. I get why you blew up. You're fucking great.
Thanks, man.
You know, what are your thoughts on what's happening? Because it's so inorganic, meaning that they're trying, like, I think
The TikTok ban, you mean?
yeah, I it's probably going to go through, right? I mean, like, probably.
Yeah, well.
It's probably going to go through. We're all going to be like,
I think it's going to 98% go through, just like 98% of APAC's candidates go through.
yeah, I'm with you. So we sit there and we're like, okay, what is fucking going on here, dude? And it's so obvious because even Tim Dillon has a great joke about it. Tim Dillon is so good.
He's fucking on it.
Articulating what we're all thinking. It's his superpower. He's funny in real time, and his ability to articulate the exact perfect punchline for him is a God-given gift, you know? And you know, he's like, dude, you're like, oh, the TikTok Chinese are spying on me. You're spying on us. Why? What do you think the real thing is? Is it Palestine? Is that it?
Yeah,
Anti-Israel? Is that what it's about, or what's your thoughts?
And you'll understand this reasoning actually as a creator yourself that creates the type of content that gets censored. When you create every day in the journalism niche specifically, and specifically the journalism that is the most censored of all journalism, like that's essentially my North Star, is what are we not supposed to know about? And I'm going to research it and talk about it. And so you get this like ongoing feedback loop of what is this app not wanting me to talk about? And on TikTok, without a fail, the most censored topics are things related to Jeffrey Epstein and child trafficking and all those networks, things related to the CIA and all of those operations and networks or the connections there, and anything related to Israel. And TikTok has done a really good job of spreading actual footage from the ground of like Palestinian people dying. And it's given a window straight into like what's really going on the one hand, and that has spread throughout the youth who are already ready to like support rebels and resistance movements inherently. And so although they have tried lots of suppression and like banning hashtags and just demonetizing videos and banning videos, like it still is like 95 to 98% pro-Palestinian content all over TikTok. It's insane. And I don't know if you guys have heard the clip of the head of the ADL in a private phone conference where he's talking about like we have a real TikTok problem, a major. And so there's just all these points of evidence that point to Israel is really the reason behind that ban. And they're the ones that need it to go through because they need think in an election year, Joe definitely doesn't want a TikTok ban on his conscience. Like he doesn't want that on his voting. Like it would be way more convenient if they didn't have to do it, but they have to do it because like they have this ongoing operation and they have these protests rising up and they have all these, it's like the veil has been shattered. And I think they're late. I think they don't realize that they've already broken the blinders that were on the whole American people. And now it's going to be another 70 years before they can build new blinders. Cause the whole, my generation, your generation, and then the younger generations, like the 18-year-olds right now, like they are going to grow up. They're never going to trust Israel's propaganda again.
Yeah.
So. And
they also, once you create this kind of narrative where you can tee off on people and do collective punishment on people, meaning all this anti-white shit, once you get these kids growing up, because they're talking about, especially boys, high school age boys are all growing up conservative. Because all they're getting told is what pieces of shit they are. And they're like, and the only ones sticking up for them are the conservatives. And they're like, hold on, what? And like, we're actually not looking at like, when it's like you have that weird like camera thing in New York that goes right to Ireland in real time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and then a chick walks up
Whip the
and
tits.
whips her tits out, which like 10 years ago, we'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Now
It's
we're
like,
like,
why
does
are you freaking out about
everything
that?
have to be tits? Does it, like, especially on Instagram where like jiggly tit comedy is the lowest form of comedy right now. It's like the lowest form of comedy. And people are just like, oh man, you got to bring that to everywhere. And you just see it. It's like they've overplayed their hand on everything.
Yep.
And
They've overplayed it in the music industry.
Yeah.
They've overplayed it in the advertising. Yeah, all of it. You're exactly right.
And people are just kind of over it and they see it as not authentic. So, when you want me to get really sad, and again, love Jews. I have a Jewish girlfriend, Jewish mother who's great. Dana's mother's Jewish. My mother's Armenian. But, so you get into that. You're like, yeah, I love Jews. But, how many of these ginos in Hollywood push this anti-white narrative? How many during the BLM riots where they were burning down white people's businesses were these ginos going, fucking bailing them out of jail? I mean, like, you just can't. Dude, until I see something on the internet that says, Dear Jewish people, like they had on Netflix, Dear White People, you're never going to get anyone behind it. You're just never. It's done. The firewall is gone. And that's why I start getting into this. The one thing that makes me nervous, and then we'll let you go, is the Project Zephyr, which was David Goldberg put out, and which is like Israel knows they've lost the narrative and they can't really do anything about it now. Is with these anti-Semitism laws, they're going to start locking up people. Is this what Alex Jones is talking about? If you study Project Zephyr, I got told that it's just a fake ass thing that's not real, but seems to be lining up. It seems to be lining up. And then there's something 84 too. I forget what it is. Reaction 84, Rec 84. Study that, and that lines up as well. So not to end on a negative note, because I'm
gonna do some digging into what Alex Jones might be talking about there, because that is quite the clip.
Yeah, it is quite the clip, and we didn't get to the end, so he looks like he's trying to save it at the end and mix it up. But it's super.
But it's kind of a fitting place to end the podcast right now, because obviously it's like it's sweet to end on high notes, but it's also important to remember that we're going into one of the most complicated and probably hard years of recent memory. Like, a lot could go wrong this year. A lot will be thrown at us. It's like people should probably be ready to be psyoped from every direction this year. And you should just, drink your water and get your rest and be ready to fight the fight, so to speak. Because it's not going to be an easy year.
I totally agree with you on that one. And I'm just going to tell you, man, let's say you're a fat ass, right? And you want to get in shape. You want to get shredded like Ian Carroll. We'd love to know your workout, buddy. But if you want to get shredded like that, you got to go through it to get to it. Like, I took jujitsu today. I got my ass kicked, and I was a private. and he's taking it easy on me. But to get to where I want to go, you're going to have to go through it. So if you listen to the show, you listen to Ian, you listen to Johnny occasionally, okay? If you listen, we're going to tell you, prepare. Guns, gold, silver, work out, grow your own food, and get the fuck off the internet. Find out. And why? Because it can be easy to be like, I don't want to listen to that shit anymore. Okay. But you don't know what's going on, and you also don't know what to ignore. And I think it's important to know what their game plan is and to understand why. Is it real or is it not real? And and people who listen to the show and check out like Ian Carroll's content, when people watch that stuff, know what's really going on and what's not going on. And I think it's important because when you get to that place, you realize you can't save anybody. You got to save yourself, but you have to save yourself, and that's it.
Yeah.
Ian, this was beyond awesome. You have, I know you're a busy guy. Anytime you want to come on, you got anything you want to promote, the door is open to you.
Thanks, man.
Anytime.
This is so much fun.
Oh,
you
dude.
guys are great to talk to. This is right up my alleyway. I love people that are not afraid to speculate, not afraid to be evidence-based, not afraid to be in between. So this is such a great time.
Well,
I'll totally be seeing you guys again.
I appreciate it, dude. One more time, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, cancelthisclothingcompany.com is my website, and it's very modest. I made it all myself, but it has links to all my other stuff on it. Has a couple of ways you can support me if anyone wants to, but only if you have extra. Like I'm doing okay, and it's not a big deal. And then Cancel This Clo on X. My long form is what I'm trying to grow right now to get free of the TikTok censorship. Is Cancel This Conspiracy on YouTube and Rumble, and I'm pretty excited. I'm about to start doing a whole new set of stuff on the long form content. So those are pretty much the places that you guys can find me.
Dude, I love your stuff. You're great. All the links below. Support Ian because he's killing it, and he's a brilliant disseminator of information. And we thank you for coming on, and let's break down this episode. Johnny, what'd you think?
Big fan now. Yeah.
Big fan of Ian Carroll. I mean, I very rarely get giddy.
You
was
liked
very
him,
giddy.
Yeah.
I love his videos. He's really good at it.
It must take I wanted to ask him. I wish
Well,
we'd
I
have
did.
more
I
time.
go, what's your
No, I
project?
wanted to know how long it takes him on each video, like editing and stuff. Because I see it with an editor's eye, and I'm like, man, this must take a while.
Well, he's good at like that TikTok thing where you could put and then you'd like kind of like try to. I'm not good at that.
I know what you mean.
I've been trying. I'm not good at that. But he's great at it, and he's like a great disseminator of information. Incredibly good. And now we find out he's 6'6". So it's like this guy's a total package.
Yeah.
And if I didn't absolutely love him and what he does, I would fight him.
Yeah, he should, by all rights, be a huge piece of shit.
He should be a giant piece of shit, and he's not.
No,
he's like the nicest guy, and he's incredibly articulate, and some might call him total package right there. He's a total conspiracy package. Now you know why 90,000 people tune into his live ones, and you go, what percentage of that is women?
Yeah, it's because most of us who talk conspiracies, women can't stand the sight of. So.
Dude, all the female swarm would stab me to get to Ian Carroll. They would just stab me. If he went, rip him from limb to limb.
And then the ones after her would just step over your dead body.
Yeah, just to watch. Just to watch. Yeah, great. We went through the whole spectrum of all the conspiracies. And he's really great at it. And he's very smart, and he does deep research, so it's fun.
Yeah, there was nowhere he went that was, he wasn't already ready with like it seems like he's done a lot of research.
Yeah, I mean, like he has something that Joe Rogan has, which is his ability to remember all the words and all the terms. That to me is a gift I do not have, and I know that. It's like a big limit on what I do. I can't remember anyone's name, and I can't remember terms, and that's why you're here.
I thought it was because we were friends.
Well,
Sam.
we
That's
are friends,
terrible.
but you have dual purpose.
Well, speaking of that, there were 34 million people who voted for Kennedy, and like something like 60 million that voted for Biden. I'm not sure where you got that one.
Okay, Johnny. The point is.
Well, I mean, you said he got more votes than Biden.
No, but I remember talking to somebody who said he got a shit ton of votes. So I guess I was wrong. Which I will admit, Johnny.
Biden got 81 million. Kennedy got 34.
Okay, I'll take that L. I'll take that L.
I didn't bring it up during the show.
No, but I wish you would. Johnny,
I didn't want to derail it.
You have to heat check me in real time. You have to.
Hey, I got a guy on Facebook, by the way, who's got a bunch of MREs. Military MREs, still well within their expiration date. You want to get a bunch of those? with me. Go in on. He's got boxes of MREs, meals ready to eat.
Yeah, but aren't they? Didn't they go bad?
No. Well, they're shelf stable for years, but they're not. Like I checked the expiration dates, they're good. If we wanted to get,
Yeah, I'll eat them. What are we getting ready for?
we don't eat them. I'm saying if the shit's going down, we want to
Yes,
have.
we're buying them right now.
I've been thinking about that for a while. Having food ready. That's like,
let's go. Let's go.
They're cheap too. We could get a couple boxes.
Dude, does he? Is it his business?
I don't. I'm trying to figure it out. We've been communicating here. I'm
All
just
right,
trying
Johnny,
to get down
tell
the
him if he
price
wants
a
to
little
do an affiliate program. We'll
bit.
do it.
No, he's not like that. No,
Okay,
I think
all
they
right.
fell off a truck maybe or something.
Okay, all right. We're all gonna die, guys. That was a great episode. I hope you enjoy it. Yes, I got something wrong. Thank you, Johnny, for clearing that up.
Also, he mentioned Skinwalker being one of the places that the government was in. We have an open invite. We should go.
We got to get my buddy Ryan back on, who owns land at Skinwalker.
Yeah, he's the one that wants us to go. We should go.
Yeah, I'll hit up Ryan. I haven't talked to him in a couple
camping
days.
up there or some shit.
I'll
dude.
hit him up for sure. Yeah, Johnny, let's go camping where the dog man is. Gotcha. Unless we bring 6'6" Ian Carroll to fight. Fucking
Yeah,
how do you beat
we have a
Dogman?
Nephilim, bitch. Come
yeah,
here.
you gotta bring in the Nephilim for sure. Johnny,
Yes.
if you go to SamTripoli.com, you can check out
would
all
love to.
of my dates. Okay, SamTripoli.com.
Right.
Okay,
There it is.
Check out my
You're gonna be in
dates.
La Jolla, I believe.
yeah, I'm gonna be in La Jolla. I'm gonna be in Costa Mesa. I'm gonna be in Morris Plains in June with my good friend Eddie Bravo and Broadbrook, Connecticut. Let's go, bro. SamTripoli.com. Also, get these affiliate programs, man. These are things that help you. Go to SamTripoli.com. It's got everything you need. You got my dates. You got my premium content. $8 for all my premium content. Just click that tiny ass button. I'm getting that fixed right now. But it's the secret dojo of premium content. You can do that. $8. That's all you do. $8. Make you holler.
What a deal.
Right? Instead, dude, you're getting multiple episodes a week. Or if you like Rockfin, which I'm still on there, and you want to pay $15 for 400 people's content, just click any of those boxes that will take you to them, and you just $15, and you get all those episodes. All those episodes. Cash Daddies is on fire, my friend Johnny. Talk about it.
Howie Dewey, if we mentioned him earlier in the show, he's this Wall Street guy, and we use him for his talents, Wall Street talents, because he has had a run of success like we haven't seen since we started doing the show over the past couple of weeks with trading, stocks and options. We've done quite well, Howie.
If you want to
That's
make
Howie.
some money, holla at your boy.
He's our horse. We ride his ass.
Okay. T-shirts, tinfoilhat-t-shirts.com. Cameos on fire. Gold and silver, guys. You heard it at the beginning. They sponsor the studio, and we love working with Wise Wolf, Gold and Silver, guys. Inflation's here. The Babylonian money magic train is gonna come to an end very, very soon, guys. When you realize that, like what, fucking 50% of the money printed has been printed in the last couple years, not good. Get into the Wolf Pack. Just go to samtripoli.gold, click the banner, and for as little as $50 a month, that's the lowest, you can get precious metals. Okay? Maybe one last night, go and drinking at the bar. Buy precious metals. I think it's important, dude. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe not spend money on that webcam girl. Just take 1 week off from webcamming girl and buy, and it goes all the way up to I think $10,000 a month. So it's a big deal. Then we got AquaCure hydrogen brown gas. You guys love that machine. Keep getting hydrogen. It's good for your body. It's a great way to do it. Our good friends at Harley Ray. Okay, Harley Ray crystals and candles. Everything you need is there. And they got beautiful presentations. One of the most gorgeous websites you've ever seen with some of the most colorful crystals, colorful candles, you name it, it's all there. We're your one-stop shop. And then, of course, I had it today. I always have it, especially when I go to work out. I always take Chemical Free Body. Go to Chemical Free Body, click the banner, use the promo code Tinfoil, get your supplements. I love it. I love it. I take it every day, and I feel like crap when I don't take it. So I love it. And then my good friend Joel Staley, he's going to get you in shape, dude. He'll get you in shape. Want to hang, want to bang, want to go bang, bang, pow? Joel Staley's going to help you get there. Bang, bang, pow. And then finally, you can get on all the telegrams, meet the rest of the community. Go down, go down. Okay, keep going down. All the audio's there. Click the banner. Keep going down. Radio show. Keep going down. Radio. You can listen to the show 24/7 or all things Sam Tripoli. Keep going down. And my specials are there. Very underrated. And all my
Going all the way to the bottom today. Here
dude, opiate of the asses. Okay, that's it. Hope you guys are doing well. Enjoy these highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
So Chris Cuomo, for some reason, Patrick Bet-David has had this guy on,
And
on
it's
his network.
I think it's done damage to his brand.
Absolutely. Everybody I've heard has said that. I mean, everybody I've heard reference it related to this. I said they're going to leave, unsubscribe, not watch him anymore. And he said the dumbest thing he's perhaps ever said while on Patrick
I think
Bet-David's
what
podcast.
Patrick Bet-David's idea was that this guy's such a lightning rod that it will always bring clicks and views.
Yeah.
But what I think, and I like Patrick Bet-David.
I'm not a big fan.
But I think he overplayed his hand.
I think he would do anything for clicks and views.
No, 100%. But I think that he misunderstood the hatred people have for this guy
Because of
and
what
what he
he did.
represents.
Yeah. Let's just play this.
No,
clip.
play this one first, then play that
I'll
one.
tell you something
Okay,
else that's
yeah, we
going
can do
to
that.
get you
drugs for animals and horse.
and people telling them to. Oh my God! What person?
Done.
You talk about cancel culture and who to shame. Ivermectin, a dewormer, really?
They are shaming themselves. No one has to shame them. They're shaming themselves.
No, they need to
by
be
doing
shamed.
that. Yeah.
They need to be called out and shamed,
Yeah.
Brother.
People who are
Shamed.
Brother.
Shamed, he says. Now
Shamed,
we're gonna
brother.
shame him a little bit.
Now
Here,
watch this.
a lot of hits. I am taking a what do they call it? Like a regular dose, whatever.
A
They're trying
prescription.
to build up of ivermectin. Ivermectin was a boogeyman early on.
Ivermectin wasn't the boogeyman. You made it
Yeah,
the
they
boogeyman.
said it was.
You remember when you said we weren't allowed to read the WikiLeaks files and all that stuff because you said it was against the law? You lying sack of
He's a
shit.
stooge for the government.
You're a
Was
garbage.
Wrong. We were given bad
Stop.
information.
Stop. This is him trying to blame anybody but himself. You heard the voices. It was a Nobel Prize winning medicine. Like, what are we talking about here?
Listen to what he said.
About
This is just
ivermectin.
infuriating.
The real question is why? Everyone's going to say Joe Rogan was right. No, Joe Rogan was saying, yeah, he was right. But
Look at
that's
that. I love that. Yeah, he was right. So what? Basically,
Yeah,
is what
I mean, dude, is this any different than what's his name? What's his name? I got his face here. He's the guy.
What's he do?
He always goes on Bill Maher, and he's like lost all of his fan base because he's like total Zionist. Not Ben Shapiro, the other guy.
Sam Harris.
Sam Harris.
Okay.
What he's doing right now is like fantasizing if it gone a different way, how he would look, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
You're you're so right.
If this would happen, I would look great.
Yeah.
That's not what matters. What matters is the entire clinical community knew that ivermectin couldn't hurt you. They knew it, Patrick. I know they knew it. How do I know? Because now I'm doing nothing but talking to these clinicians who at the time were overwhelmed by COVID and they weren't saying anything.
Now, here's the problem. This is the thing I really have a problem with. He's absolutely lying here. All the good doctors were saying this shit
And
back
dude, you
then.
know what that face is? It's like, oh fuck, this guy's lying right now, and I've signed a contract with him.
But all the good doctors were the people that weren't talking. The physicians that weren't talking were the liars. The people that were bought and sold by the pharmaceutical industry and by the government. Those were the people that weren't. Plenty of people were talking in the medical industry. There was a whole group of them.
Dude, and it maybe if you didn't hear it because you were part of the apparatus
to silence them.
Silence him.
Yeah, 100%.
Not that they were hiding anything, but it's cheap. It's not owned by anybody.
This is all they were saying.
Used as an antimicrobial, antiviral, and
mean it's
all
not
of
a
these
horse
different ways. It has
dewormer?
been for a long time.
For malaria for over almost 20 years.
Yeah. So, and my doctor, who is now my doctor, was using it during COVID on her family and on patients, and it was working for them.
Look at Vincent
So,
O'Shannell's
they
like,
were
listen to
wrong
this motherfucker.
to play scared on that. Didn't know that at the time. Know it now. Admit it now. Reporting on it now. Because I think that's the job. The idea that, well,
the job is to be wrong
Like
for 3 years and then admit it
dude-
finally.
This dude is just
Deluded.
You are done, bro. And what you're gonna do, and I don't even hate Cuomo for this, because this is on Patrick Bet David for bringing this guy in.
Well, he's finally seen the writing on the wall that if he wants to have any kind of presence in the new media, he's gotta turn around, and he's trying to, but he can't even admit it. Like
you can't
the real
get away
shit.
from this,
No,
dude.
you did too much, man.
And when you do, it will be a while, like Tucker Carlson.
Yeah,
like
you gotta
it
earn
took
it.
a while for Tucker Carlson to get back, and then he instantly has this CIA guy on. Did you see this? He had a CIA guy on who's the last guy to talk to Che Rivera. What is his name?
Che Guevara?
Yeah. I'm a retard. We all know
Che
that.
Guevara's a piece of shit.
Che Guevara,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, he's a garbage person.
So he was the
Murderer.
last one to talk to him. And there's a picture of him. And it was like Tucker Carlson's interviewing this guy, and it's a complete whitewash of like what the CIA did to Latin America.
Yeah. Well, that's how you pay. I mean, yeah.
That's how you play the game, right? That's how you play the game.
Anyway, I think that's about it from that clip. But yeah, that's just, I mean, that guy sucks, and it's killing Patrick Bet David.
I think he's just taking a beating, dude. I don't think it's a good idea, dude.
Dude, this is one of the craziest little pieces of footage I've ever seen. So there was this guy doing a live stream of his church, pastor, right?
Dude, this is so nuts.
And a man breaks in and tries to shoot him. Look at this.
Jesus.
Look at it.
Jesus.
Somebody comes from behind him. His gun jammed. Now,
Dude.
if I'm telling you, if the Lord isn't looking after, this is the church you need to go to right here. This guy's he had him dead to rights, stone cold dead. I mean, he drew down on him and the gun jammed.
That guy's a fucking hero.
Yeah, the guy who came up from behind him.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.